Hi guys, welcome to week 37. Hope it's going well for you. We're still in a lot of minor prophets. We've got some Daniel going on, some Ezra, sorry, and then we've got a lot of Zechariah. So I wanted to talk some about Zechariah today, and to offer you, what would it be? Kind of hope and kind of despair, because if you're looking at this and you're thinking, I don't understand it, I don't know what's going on, you're in good company. That's the hopeful part. The despairing part is like a lot of people have no idea what's going on. When we read these prophecies in Zechariah, even commentators that I've been reading have said these are some of the most enigmatic or mysterious prophecies of Scripture that we read it and we think, what is happening there? So I'm going to touch on a couple of these. Mine are not the definitive answers, but I'm going to touch on them and just offer us some ways to think about them. So the first one is in Zechariah 1:18 through 21. You have these four horns, and then you have these four craftsmen that will arise to destroy the horns. What's going on? Who is that? Most of the people think that the four horns are the four empires of Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome. It's a little odd because Zechariah is writing in the time of Persia, so Babylon has already happened, and then he's talking about it as the future. I'm not sure how that dynamic works, but I don't think it's necessarily a problem. But then who are the craftsmen? Most of the commentators that I've read have said that the craftsmen are probably Persia, Greece, Rome, and then the Messiah, the kingdom of the Messiah. And so it's kind of like potentially the vision that, or the dream that Nebuchadnezzar has of the statue made out of four different kinds of material. And then the bottom of it is this clay and iron mixed together. And then there's this enormous rock that comes and just smashes it. And then that rock becomes a mountain and fills the whole earth. So it's entirely possible that that's kind of what's going on there. And that's really the best answer that anybody has been able to give, that it's likely that, Persia is the craftsman that destroys Babylon, and then Greece destroys Persia, Rome destroys Greece, and then Christ is going to knock down the Roman Empire, which I don't know if that means like the Romans themselves, but more likely it means empire of the world, is my guess. Zechariah 4:14, you have these two olive trees that are two anointed ones. So who are these guys? Most likely it's Joshua the high priest who would have been anointed as priest, and then it's Zerubbabel the governor who is probably, he's the line of Judah, so I don't know if he would have been anointed as a governor, but he stands kind of in the position of like the Davidic kings who would have been anointed. So it's entirely possible that that's who this is referring to, although G. Coleman Luck, writing in his commentary on Zechariah, says that these two could also potentially refer to the two unknown prophets that happen in the book of Revelation, that are these two last prophets that stand in front of the Lord. So we don't really know. Those are our best guesses. Zechariah 5:5 through 11, you have this a box, a woven basket, and you have a woman inside, and this woman is wickedness, and then you have two other women with wings who carry her away to Babylon. And what is going on? Nobody knows why the two women with wings are women. We don't understand that part. We don't know what's going on there. There are some people who say that they could be agents of evil because they have the wings of a stork, and according to Leviticus, a stork was an unclean animal. Or they could be agents of righteousness because they're carrying the evil away. And then why is evil a woman? Most likely it's that the word for wickedness is a feminine word, and so they would have used a feminine symbol to portray it. Does this mean that women are evil? It does not. It just does not. But you have basically like Israel's sin has been fully fleshed out. It's totally filled up, like the cup. It's everything that they could possibly do, and God carries that, has that wickedness carried away to Babylon and disposed of. And you see when Israel comes back from Babylon, comes back from the captivity, they're a very different group of people, a very different sort of nation. And that's what you're going to see next week, looking at Ezra and everything that he does in his reforms, or this week actually, that they're coming week, their lives are very different. Their way of seeing the Lord is very different. Their way of seeing themselves, their marriages, They really never returned to idolatry again. And so it could be that this is what's going on, that the wickedness that they had been living out for all of their life as a nation really is carried away to Babylon and left there. So, best guess. I hope that's helpful. And then just one observation when you read Daniel, Esther, Ezra, and Nehemiah, there's something really interesting that comes out in all of these books, and that is God's people living under empire. There's a difference in the way that they relate to the world around them, and there's a difference in the kind of struggles that come up against them. While Israel was a sovereign nation, its struggles were internal, and its struggles were against the idolatry that was inside of it, and then the external struggles were if a nation came and wanted to conquer it. But now you see Israel is a nation that has been conquered, and so it's a group of God's people that are scattered among an empire. And in this empire, you have enemies that come up against them. And how do they fight against them? Do they kill them? Not overtly, not in an obvious way. The closest that they ever get is when Haman tries to come up with a specific day that the Jews would be annihilated. But he does that through legal means. And so what you now see is you see the enemies of God's people are expert political maneuverers. And what they do is they use the political system of their day. They write letters. They have like a letter campaign against Israel. They try to cite laws. They try to cite Israel's history to show how Israel is a hostile nation to the empire. And they try to use that in order to set the rulers of the empire and the other people of the empire against Israel to bring about its downfall. They can't attack it physically, and so they attack it politically. And I think that maybe this would be a really good era for us to study, books for us to study as people who are living in an empire. Because Christians, we've always lived in an empire. You have God's people that are scattered in the world, and they're living under various political systems. And in most of these systems, the people aren't just killing the Christians. In most of these systems, the people are legislating against them. And so I think that's a really helpful way to say, is our God big enough to take care of us in political systems where people are trying to legislate against us and we feel at risk, or we feel that our rights are at risk? And how do we respond to that? And so I just think it's a very interesting thing. Maybe one of you will write a book on it. I don't know. But just a way to think about what's going on. And as you read it, I hope it causes you to reflect on what our times look like. And do we have to act in fear? And do we have to be afraid of one political faction or another, or feel like we have to have fights with people and them be our enemies in the middle of all of this? Just how did God take care of Israel when their physical enemies were bringing about political campaigns against them? I think it's useful. So, hope this helps. Have a great week. Thank you.